Primed by the gruesome revelations, members of the public waited with police and media, passing their sentence on the
public could see these people. I couldn't get to them. And they were absolutely poured their emotions out at this pair.
Blind your mole will get it when I get in there.
She has not got, to my recollection, one endearing feature about her.
Hang your filthy bastard.
He was a weedy, syphilitic little rat. Undivided devotion from her to him.
Got a little secret for you.
And they are now infamous in this nation.
David and Catherine Burney are without a doubt the most violent couple in Australia's history. Deadly predators who abduct, rape, torture and brutally murder women to satisfy their perverse sexual needs. A merciless pair who become known as the killer couple.
Australia's most notorious criminal family. Generation after generation. Crime Investigation Australia. Families of crime.
The body of the fourth victim was discovered in a pine plantation north of the city. Police believe the women were forced into the graves and their throats cut before being buried.
It's via television news reports that David Burney's first wife finds out about the couple's killing spree.
2 minutes past 6, Channel 7 News, 11th of November 1986. Not the way to find something out like that. That's exactly how I found out on the news. I was absolutely mortified at the thought that he could have done things like that.
It's believed today's search with David,
Shock, horror, dismay, disbelief. I think I experienced every negative emotion a person can experience.
David and Catherine Burney first meet as children, growing up in Wattle Grove in the 1950s, a quiet semi-rural area of trees and open paddocks on Perth's eastern suburban fringe. David is the eldest child of Johnny and Margaret Burney. David has 4 brothers and sisters, and it's a wild and chaotic family.
Dysfunctional is probably the best word. Mum was alcoholic. Dad, contrary to what the media say, was not an alcoholic, but he worked long hours trying to provide for his family. He was a very frail man with an arched back as a genetic defect of some sort. So he was away working a lot. And the kids really weren't given much of a chance right from the word go. She was a dirty, unkempt woman, and I can say that without fear because I used to clean her unit every week and I know what I walked into. And I can well imagine the kids being raised in that environment, just mess and dirt and filth everywhere. And that's no way to raise a child.
I would be on the local bus coming to and from school. Often his mother would be on the bus too. She would have this wet, filthy, starving, dirty little baby on her knee. She would pass it to the person sitting next to her in the next seat, and if you were unfortunate enough, you too would be all wet. And she would pull out her comics and her cigarettes and her bad language, and she would continue on until it was time for you to get off the bus and then pass the baby back.
Boys, can you hear that? Can you hear your brother whinging?
David's home life becomes worse when his youngest brother Jamie is born.
Go get your brother now. Quick, go! Go get him.
His unstable and alcoholic mother demands the older children look after the little boy.
David said he can remember copying several hidings because Jamie had grunted and he hadn't moved fast enough. And apparently the same with the other 4 kids. If the youngest one grunted, they were expected to jump. He was telling me at one stage Jamie had broken something, and it was something of Mum's, and she picked up a broomstick and she chased him around and belted hell out of him with a broomstick. because Jamie had broken something. And I thought, well, that's so unfair.
David has one little friend who lives nearby, a girl his own age, named Catherine Harrison. The two form a solid bond. Catherine also has a disruptive childhood.
She sort of never really had a chance from the word go. Her mother died when she was 10 months old. She was shipped off to live with her father in South Africa for a couple of years.
There are varying reports from people who knew her as a child who say, you know, that her father didn't want her, then he did, then he didn't, the grandparents didn't want her. There's no doubt that it was difficult and it was, you know, very, very restless for her.
She was a desperate little child that none of the other kids would play with, no one would have anything to do with because of the environment she came from, I think.
From this squalid childhood in the 1950s will emerge years later a ruthless killer couple who will turn a quiet suburban home in Morehouse Street into a house of horrors. October 11th, 1986. 22-year-old Mary Nielsen has come to buy some discount tyres from David and Catherine Burney.
David, Mary's here.
Hi, Mary.
But it's a trap.
Mary Nielsen was a young university student who worked part-time at a delicatessen and was a typical young lady. Her parents lived in an affluent area in Perth. He said he had some tyres at home. He got a phone number and she then left. He went home and spoke to Kathy, and as a result Kathy rang Mary and made arrangements for Mary to come and view the tyres.
As soon as she walks in the front door, Mary is attacked by the couple. She's threatened with a knife and then tied to a bed.
Hi, Mary.
David then proceeds to rape her, while Catherine encourages him.
She would stimulate parts of David Burney's anatomy while he was raping the young lady and turn him on more.
When the attack is over, Catherine guards the prisoner, while David drives Mary's car into town. He dumps it in a car park outside Perth's Central Police Headquarters, believing it'll be the last place to be searched.
They researched with local councils where they could leave a car and, you know, for how many days before it would be discovered.
David returns and sexually assaults Mary again while Catherine watches.
Catherine told me that she and David read a book called Perfect Murder before they ever met Mary and used that as a blueprint for what they would do.
Bound and gagged, the prisoner is driven in the Burney's car to the Gleneagle National Park.
According to Catherine, they spent weeks and weeks doing research on the best way to commit murder and get away with it. So there was nothing random about what they did.
After raping her again, David strangles her with a nylon rope and then stabs her through the heart. Taking shovels and a mattock from the boot, they dig a shallow grave. She will be the first of many young women buried there.
She was a missing person, but once again the inquiry team had done a fair bit of inquiry and ascertained it was totally out of character, and they'd progressed it from a missing person file to a suspicious homicide.
This killer couple shares a terrible and twisted relationship, a bond first formed in their childhood that develops into a petty criminal conspiracy as they enter their teenage years. October 1986, and David and Catherine Burney, the killer couple, have abducted, raped and murdered their first victim. David Burney's descent into depravity and murder has its roots in his dysfunctional childhood in the 1950s. His alcoholic mother loses her ability to cope, and eventually all the children go into some form of state care.
Hurry up! Go get him!
I met the mother one day on the bus and she was crying. And she said, "Oh, Arlene, they've taken my 2 little girls away."
David is a thin and stunted boy with an inhibited personality. While teaching him at Sunday school, Arlene Collings notices that he has psychological problems.
But this little boy had strange drawings, really strange, violent drawings. He was ripping his crayon across the paper. He was screwing up his paper. Body language was violent. The body language was angry.
David begins getting into trouble with the police for petty burglary offences.
He, I believe, was first institutionalised at about 8 years of age. Breaking and entering, stealing and receiving, things like that. And compared with what he was accused of in the end and convicted of, reasonably minor stuff. Although if you're on the receiving end, not that minor.
October 20th, 1986, 2 weeks after the first murder. Susanna Candy is picked up and kidnapped by the 2 killers as she hitchhikes along the Stirling Highway in Claremont. She's only 16 and still lives with her family in suburban Nedlands. With Catherine in the car, it's easy for the Burneys to convince young women to accept a lift.
So they would go out hunting. Hunting is probably the most apt word for a victim.
A lady leans out the passenger side window. "Hi, can we give you a lift?" Or "Hi, can we help you? Which way are you going?" "Of course."
"G'day, love, you want a lift?"
Kids jump straight in the back of the car.
"All right, just jump in the back."
But which hitchhikers will become their victims is not decided by David. It's Catherine who calls the shots.
And then if she fitted the bill, they had a code term. They referred to munchies.
"I've got the munchies, David."
Yes, Kath, I've got the munchies too.
If he said yes, they'd bring out the knife and subdue the victim.
Come on, get them on, go straight.
Next thing you know, the lady's in the back of the car with a knife at their throat, holding them down, threatening them that they'll be killed if they don't shut up and just go with them. Best trick in the book.
Once Sue Candy is a prisoner back at Morehouse Street, the Burneys put a sinister plot into action.
Shut up! Shut up!
Got that. Finished.
She's then gagged, chained to the bed and raped. She's forced to write letters to her family, saying that she's gone to Queensland with friends.
Daddy!
Next morning, she's threatened with death if she doesn't make a carefully scripted phone call.
The parents got a phone call from Susanna the following day to say she'd be staying with friends, and then and she'd be home afterwards.
The way that the Burneys had operated, they'd sent letters. They'd had the victims write letters and send them to their families sort of a week apart or two, so not to arouse particular suspicion, or at least early in the missing phase.
After David finishes raping her, Catherine climbs into bed with them. They make an attempt to strangle Sue, but she puts up a massive struggle. Sleeping pills are then forced down her throat, and once she's unconscious, a nylon cord is slipped around her neck, and together they tighten it until she dies. Her body is buried in the same Gleneagle bushland, not far from Mary Nielsen's grave. The rapes and cold-blooded murders are about to become more frequent, the product of sick fantasies dating back to their teenage years. October 1986. David and Catherine Burney's home in Morehouse Street becomes the House of Horrors, where they rape and murder 2 young women within 10 days. In the mid-1960s, David Burney is a young teenager when he meets up again with Catherine. He already has an extensive record of juvenile offences. Soon, the couple are partners in crime, committing a series of burglaries, house break-ins and car thefts. They're always caught, but at first, because of their young age, they're treated lightly by the courts.
Well, she found a soulmate, someone with the same circumstances, someone that she could relate to. Without David Burney, then Catherine Burney's life probably would have been one of absolute and utter despair and loneliness and misery, given her upbringing.
I think it was a lethal combination of Kath and David together, because every time they get together, they're in trouble. And history has shown that.
They went on crime spree virtually from when they were 13 or 14 years of age. They had sex for the first time at 14. Then they went out on stealing sprees. And
At 15, David leaves school and begins work in the stables of Perth trainer Eric Parnham, where he hopes to become an apprentice jockey. Eric remembers meeting David's parents.
The first time I went to his mother's and father's place, they had an ashtray on the table, 2 foot high, full of shit butts. And I took him because he was little, and I said, I could make you a jockey. He said, all right, so don't smoke. I said, who smokes? That's rubbish. He said, Mum and Dad.
The trainer finds him accommodation at a local boarding house, but soon afterwards the landlady complains that David has tried to rape her.
She said, that jockey bloke you got. And I said, yeah. He said, he's just trying to come in and get into bed with me. Oh, I said, the devil. He wasn't very big either. But she said, luckily, she had a little dog as big as a mouse. And the dog went berserk, and he took off.
David Burney leaves the stables, but he continues his relationship with Catherine.
They were caught together. He'd invariably go off to jail, and the courts would take pity on her, and she'd be given a probation, and then he'd get out of jail, and off they'd go on another stealing spree. By the time that David Burney was 20, he was in the big league. The pair of them had been caught doing his usual things, stealing cars and breaking and entering and shoplifting and multitude of other crimes. And for the first time, she went to jail for 6 months.
In prison, with the help of a counsellor, she breaks her dependence on David Burney. After her release, she takes a job as a housemaid and marries one of her employer's sons, Don McLaughlin.
They married on her 21st birthday, seemed very, very happy together, and had 6 children. One of them, unfortunately, a little boy, was killed in front of Catherine, was run over in front of Catherine, which psychiatrists believe may have contributed to her terrible, terrible future. She seemed to be perfectly happy for quite a long time.
David also gets married at 21 to a girl named Kerry.
Yeah, but it was no great wine and dine or anything like that. I mean, we'd only known each other a month before we got married.
November 1st, 10 days after Susanna Candy's death. The murderous couple has kidnapped a third victim, 31-year-old Nolene Patterson, who's gagged and chained to the bed.
Can I trust you?
But this time, things are a little different, as David becomes entranced by Nolene, who's around Catherine's age but is beautiful and elegant. Everything Catherine is not.
Catherine Burney was scruffy and scrawny and common and unattractive, and while as this young lady was a very beautiful young lady, and she was elegant, and she had been a hostess at one stage on Alan Bond's aeroplane.
Only hours earlier, Nolene had been standing alone beside her car after running out of petrol on the Canning Highway when she'd been spotted by the Burneys, out cruising, searching for their next victim.
Look, look, look,
Yes.
look, look, look.
Yeah, all right, all right.
Big
Yeah, I'm
no.
going to spin around, back around for
Okay,
her.
okay.
You good, darling. That was great.
Nolene realises she's in mortal danger and she makes a daring play for her life.
Because Nolene was 31 years of age, she was mature. What she tried was a bit of reverse psychology, and she tried to befriend David to see if she could talk a way out of being killed.
What the bloody hell are you doing?
She's great, Kath.
For a short time, Nolene's desperate plan seems to work. The prisoner even cooperates with the Burneys' demand that she make a phone call to allay any fears that she's in trouble.
The following morning, she rang a friend to say that her vehicle was parked at a location, had run out of fuel. She was staying with some friends, everything was okay, and would that friend of hers please go and pick her car up and park it up safely.
After holding Nolene captive for 2 days, the Burneys have a major argument. In an insane fit of jealousy, Catherine storms out of the house. And when she returns, she delivers a bizarre ultimatum.
You know, I'm gonna bloody well kill myself if you had her. I hate this.
No, she's all right, Kath. No.
It's me or her. I'm gonna kill myself now.
Subsequently, Kathy actually offered to kill herself if David wanted to be with Nolene.
I'm sick of it. I want to know. I want to hurt me. No. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Why are you spending more time with her than me?
It's you. It's just been a mistake. It's just been a
David
mistake.
relents, and they force heavy sleeping medication down Nolene's throat. Catherine then strangles her, and they drive the body to the Glen Eagle bushland.
David said that Nolene was different from the other girls and she deserved to be put into a different place to the other girls. She was in actual fact buried with her knickers still on and, as I say, away from the other two girls.
A disgusted Catherine Burney takes pleasure in throwing sand in Nolene Patterson's face.
Another girl.
A few days later, the Burneys stage their next attack as they feed their rapidly growing appetite for living out their brutal sexual fantasies. Fantasies they created together only a few years earlier when they reunited after their marriages broke up. By the early 80s, David and Catherine have been living separate married lives. Catherine has 6 children with her husband, Don McLaughlin. David and his wife, Kerry, also live a happy married life for 6 years, and they have a daughter, Tanya. But things start to change after David suffers a head injury while working on a dredging barge at Bunbury.
The barge moved and the guy upstairs lost his grip and the drum dropped on David's head and left quite a nasty gash in the top of his head. It wasn't a quick change, it was very slow. And he would suddenly start picking the way I did things, and he would tell me I couldn't do things properly and I should go and get lessons on how to do things, which he'd never ever said prior to the accident. He had a lot of affairs over the years, and again, all after the accident with a drum on his head. He had several different women every year.
After 10 years, the marriage finally ends when he brings a 16-year-old girlfriend to live in the family home.
He actually moved her in lock, stock and barrel, and moved our daughter into our bed and moved into our daughter's bedroom with her. It destroyed my self-esteem completely for a long time, and it took a long time to come back from that.
When David moves his teenage girlfriend into the family home, his wife Kerry moves out with their daughter Tanya. David and Catherine meet up again, and she finds that she's still emotionally dependent.
She was very, very unhappy in her marriage. And one day she said, "I've had enough," walked out the door and never came back, and went to live with David Burney.
I rang up and reported her missing about 1 o'clock that night. A couple of days later, the constable rang back and said, "Oh, no, she reported him to us, but she's not missing." No, head of nothing. Didn't even know what was going on. She just went, or said she was going to walk and never come back home.
Catherine and David begin living together in Morehouse Street, Willagee, just east of Fremantle. Kerry Burney takes daughter Tanya on visits to see her father and is shocked to see how David is living.
My impression was they'd rather sit watching TV than cleaning the house up. And they'd eat and there'd be food and all that round where they'd been eating. And I thought, I don't know how you can live like that.
Catherine changes her surname to Burney.
She seemed very shy, very quiet, very retiring. Didn't really appear warm to me at all, probably because I was a stranger. And she's also quite reserved around David.
David takes a job in a car wrecker's yard close by. Soon afterwards, he begins to play out sadomasochistic sexual fantasies.
Can you do that for me? David had a amazing sexual appetite. From what he was capable of sexually, day in, day out.
He can't seem to live without having sex with females. He needs it. If he can't get it, he just seems to go all emotional and he just cracks up. He just crawls into a ball and just closes up.
His first wife, Kerry, confirms David's insatiable sex drive, but even she was surprised when she found he was advertising for sex partners.
I was cruising the Desperate and Dateless in the Sunday Times, and I thought, hello, he's advertising in the Sunday Times. Bored husband wants lady for fun times. I thought, well, gee, that really makes me feel good. He at one stage suggested a threesome. And I said, oh yeah, that sounds good. Which guy shall we get? I don't think he expected the reaction, because he just looked at me and that didn't come up again.
When he broke up with his girlfriend, and since he needed to have sex every night, he didn't get it. So on about Wednesday, so 3 nights later, he asked if he could do it with me. I refused, and he kept on asking, I kept on refusing. And I eventually thought I won over him, and I went to bed. But when I went to sleep, he came into my room and started doing it while I was asleep.
Jamie's 21st birthday present from David and Catherine is Catherine.
Well, I didn't have sex at all up till my 21st birthday. As a birthday present, I was allowed to have sex with Kathy.
A Morehouse Street neighbour remembers travelling with Jamie on the local bus.
He was always sort of like stuck in his own little world, and just seemed to look straight through you, and didn't matter how many times I'd caught the bus with him and got off at the same spot or tried to avoid getting off, he wouldn't recognise me as being someone that was in the street. He'd just be very, very blank. Like I said, get off at a different stop just to avoid, because I just felt he was creepy.
Jamie will grow up to be a convicted sex offender, going to jail for raping an 80-year-old woman and molesting a 6-year-old girl.
Because I had sexual problems of my own, and I had 2 indecent dealing charges against me. I was just going through a bad time when I was in there, and I try to get my problem sorted out, and that's when I told my parole officer that what my brother did to me.
November 5th, 1986. 4 days after Nolene's murder, 21-year-old Denise Brown is taken prisoner. Denise is a part-time computer operator who lives with her boyfriend and lives a full and happy life. After spending the day with a girlfriend, she sets out to hitchhike home, and she's picked up by the Bernies. She's taken back to Morehouse Street, where she's forced to remove her clothing and jewellery.
Come on, Denise, it's going to be all right.
Catherine makes a meticulous list of the clothing and personal effects and watches while David rapes Denise.
Just stop it, please! No, don't!
No, I just got something.
The following morning, having been drugged and chained to the bed overnight, Denise is forced to ring a friend to say she'll be away for a few days.
I was fairly certain through gut feeling, and I mean, policemen need to work on gut feelings, but as a result of speaking with the mother and all the friends, I was relatively certain that this was out of character for Denise Brown and that she was subject of foul play.
Okay, bye.
In a forest at Wanneroo, on Perth's northern outskirts, David Burney rapes her again and then cuts her throat.
Come here, right?
She's about to be buried when she suddenly sits up in the grave.
David had an axe in the boot of his car. He ran to the boot of the car, got the axe, and the back of the axe he actually hit her in the head on 2 occasions to kill her.
The murders are now taking place only a few days apart, but it's getting harder for the Bernies to cover their tracks. The disappearances are beginning to stir suspicion in the Perth Police Department, and the 5th victim will stage a miraculous escape and finally expose the killer couple. At first, the sudden disappearances of young women in Perth in 1986 doesn't raise any serious alarms with the Western Australian Police.
At least one of the families was very distressed because the police suggested she'd run away from home, you know, got mixed up with the wrong crowd, and so it was in a climate where there wasn't that media furor yet about there is a serial killer prowling the streets of Perth. It was, okay, a few women have gone missing.
Then on November 10th, 1986, 5 days after Denise Brown's murder, a shocking revelation will finally expose the House of Horrors in Morehouse Street, Willagee. The breakthrough comes when a teenager named Katie staggers half naked into a Fremantle supermarket, screaming that she's been abducted and raped.
So we picked her up from a shop in Willagee, and she related this, what was then rather bizarre story unfolded about how she'd been picked up off Stirling Highway. She was hitchhiking, and she'd end up back at a house, and she was stripped naked.
She tells the detectives she believed she'd be murdered, so she leaves clues that she hopes will incriminate her killers.
You done?
Yeah.
Over the next 24 hours, she befriends Catherine and convinces her to untie her. At every possible moment, Katie hides notes and manages to plant some personal effects around the house.
She told me where she'd recorded and left the driver's license of her friend, and where she said it was, I found it.
Early the following morning, David Burney goes off to work and leaves their captive with Catherine. Katie continues to hide evidence around the house.
She had got on very well with Kathy intentionally. She knew that she needed to do that, and so she gained her confidence.
Hours later, Catherine answers a knock on the door for a drug deal. For young Katie, this is her chance to escape.
Yeah, I can.
She finds an unlocked window, scrambles through it, and half naked, she runs for help to the nearby shop.
The young girl broke out of this window here in the front and ran down practically, I do believe, with sort of nothing on, ran right down and up the laneway.
Having told her story, the hysterical teenager leads the detectives back to Morehouse Street.
So we drove past the house. She actually became quite upset when she pointed the house out. And at that point, we realised everything she said. We were satisfied that everything she said was absolutely accurate. You know, we were convinced it just wasn't a made-up story.
A quick search of the unoccupied and unlocked premises quickly yields the evidence that corroborates Kate's story.
She said that she was given a sleeping pill, which she spat out. That pill was in actual fact found on the floor in the bedroom. She said that she had been chained up and locks had been used, and there was numbers on the locks. We found some chains and some locks with numbers on them.
Police stake out the house and they wait for the occupants to return.
There she is.
A short time later, a female arrived home who we ascertained to be Catherine Burney.
Just settle down. Handcuff, Rick. Handcuff.
And she was told that we were making inquiries in relation to a young lady who'd been reported to us that she'd been abducted and held captive in her house and raped, and she denied any knowledge of it.
The Burneys are arrested and taken in for questioning. Horrified neighbours in Morehouse Street wonder how such events could have gone unnoticed so close to their homes. Nadia Jolly was a teenager at the time.
It was quite bizarre, and being a 15-year-old, and in those days it wasn't uncommon that we would be out of an evening and be walking home at midnight and walking straight past their house, and it being quite a bizarre thought pattern that you just think, why hadn't we seen something?
When all this came out, we got a shock. There were people we were really shocked, all of us were very shocked. And for quite some times afterwards, whenever I had to give our address or something, as soon as I said Morehouse Street, they'd immediately, oh, that's that notorious street.
What do you want me to say?
Detectives are getting nowhere with either David or Catherine.
Come on, David. How many is there?
Vince Kadich turned to Burney after they'd questioned he and Catherine, nothing doing, and just in a throwaway line, he said, "It's getting dark, let's get the shovel and go and dig them up." And then to his astonishment, David Burney said, "Okay, there's 4 of them."
Kathy had been informed that David had admitted to us that he'd been involved in the death of 4 girls, and that he was prepared to take us up and show us where the bodies were.
Where?
At that stage, she wanted to speak to David. She was told that she couldn't do that, and she then agreed to accompany the boys, Bob and Chris, to the sites.
I was in the back seat with her in a police vehicle, and she directed us to the first one, which was in fact the most recent victim. And then we went to the next one, which was the other side of Perth. directly the other side of Perth, south of Perth, to Glen Eagles National Park, which is a very large area of land. We were fortunate in that they were able to direct us to each of the gravesites.
The last young lady's grave that Catherine Burney took them to, she was very, very proud of that, because this was the young lady that Catherine Burney had killed herself, and she very proudly said, "Come on, come this way, it's over here. Ah, there it is, yes it is," and then showed them the mound and then spat on it.
Their identities concealed by blankets, the couple were escorted into Fremantle Court under tight security.
Journalist Bill Power covered the Burney sentencing.
And the police are trying to bring Catherine Burney into the dock. And she's got to come up this way. Nobody could see this except me, because I'm, gawking down the stairs. And the two police officers put their hands on her. And if you can imagine a wildcat going off, she went off. Spitting, scratching, swearing, kicking, biting, yelling and screaming like a mad woman because these two coppers had laid hands on her. David Burney was the only man allowed to do that in her mind. She went off her brain until I let her go.
Once they get Catherine into the courtroom, she shows her utter indifference to the suffering of the victims.
Catherine's on the seat behind him, quiet, demure, just gazing around, and she reaches forward with that finger and she starts to stroke the ball of his thumb, just like this, for about 10 times. I just sat there staring at this. It was unbelievable devotion, and she couldn't have cared what that judge was saying. She had no thoughts about that at all. Her focus was entirely on her beloved David, who had just murdered all these women and raped them to the point that they were no use to him anymore.
David and Catherine Burney are both sentenced to life imprisonment, with the judge ruling that they should never be released. In October 2005, almost 20 years after he's jailed, David Burney hangs himself in his prison cell.
There was no sympathy at all for Burney, who had been a predator on innocent people. And the fact that he pleaded guilty meant that at least they were spared some of the trauma of appearing in court to give evidence, for example.
Because we always felt that there was wasn't quite closure. There was still a likelihood, a great likelihood, that there were other victims that we were not aware of.
Yes, I'm very firm on the belief that certainly David was involved in the death of several other young women. That Cathy, I believe, has a knowledge of those deaths if she was not involved in them.
Catherine Burney is still behind bars in Perth's maximum security jail for women at Baniyaycrime, where she runs the prison library. So far, her bids for parole have been refused. Community education manager and author Ruth Wicks got to know the real Catherine.
In her normal, when she's just being Catherine, she speaks in this very childish voice. She's very almost passive and willing to please.
One day, Ruth makes the mistake of criticising Catherine.
And I just said, "Catherine, don't come the helpless female with me, it gives me the shits." She turned around and grabbed me. Her face had completely, when she kind of had me up against the thing in the library, her face had completely changed. It changed in an instant from just being this passive, quiet, mousy woman to someone whose eyes were almost, they were glowing with rage or something, I don't know. She said to me, "Ruth, you don't know what power is until you've held someone's life in your hands." My base instinct then was to think, okay, now I get it. Now I see the woman who has committed murder. because I did. I saw that complete change in her, and it happened in a second.
Ruth Wicks discovered that Catherine was corresponding with other infamous female killers.
Well, she certainly used to write to Myra Hindley, who was one half of the partnership with Ian Brady, known as the Moors murderers in England. She told me that she was writing to Myra. She also said that she wrote to Aileen Wuornos, who was an American serial killer in Florida who was put to death a few years ago. I actually think that she enjoyed the notoriety of being able to communicate with other people who were infamous killers on the same level.
Catherine also tells Wicks how she once called for help when a fellow inmate attempted suicide.
She could hear the woman in the next cell to her gurgling. They were already in lockdown, it was night time. And in relating that story to me, she said, you know, only someone who has strangled somebody, basically, and is familiar with that sound of gurgling knows exactly what it is, and I was able to recognise it and tell the prison officers to alert them. But what she was intending to do in relating that to me was telling me, reliving, if you like, what it's like to strangle somebody.
You can't walk around the streets at night dark by yourself, but you can't put yourself in a position that people can attack you or isolate you away from the community or from members of your family. And if we do know that, there's people like crimes of opportunity. And so there are people and predators out there who do take advantage of the existence and the innocence of people.
Just like the families of the murder victims, Kerry and her daughter, fathered by David Burney, must try to move on. But David and Catherine Burney's murderous rampage has left deep scars.
Because she said to me one day, Mum, why did he kill them? Why did he feel that he needed to take ladies off the street and kill them? I said, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I remember at one stage we had a disagreement about something, and out of the blue she said to me, oh, you only think of me as the bastard child of a murderer. And it floored me because I had no idea she was thinking like that. And I know for a fact I wasn't thinking like it. I was amazed when she came out with it.
In February 2010, the Western Australian Prisoners Review Board met to consider whether to recommend a bid by Catherine Burney for parole. It was rejected by the Attorney General the following month.
I'm glad that they refused parole, because when you look at the big picture of these homicides, they were committed and convicted of 4 of the most vicious killings that you'd ever want to read about, but you don't want to read about. Their behaviour, from kidnapping to the deprivation of liberty, the sexual assault and then the murder of those young girls was totally unacceptable to behaviour in society today.
I say, if you are accused and convicted of murder, you should never be allowed out of prison. Your victim doesn't get parole, why should you?
I would safely say that any future parole hearings, however regularly apart they are under West Australian jurisdiction, would be rejected. There would be a huge uproar in Western Australia if Catherine Burney was ever released.
I think she's beyond redemption. I think that, you know, it's kind of like that scorpion and the frog. You can't change the core nature of somebody, and I think the core nature of Catherine is bad.